Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Riker, Goran Dragic was a guy that came into the season and had Nick Nurse saying that he could potentially be a starter for this team, and was in fact the starter, I believe, on opening night in most of the games in the preseason that he played. And now, within 6 games, he was already benched, getting 0 minutes a night. Now, obviously, Dragic, he had those high aspirations coming into this season, higher than clearly the Toronto Raptors, are just a measly potential top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference or whatever, right? Not to slander Dragic. He's been great. He's been a true professional since he's come here, but with him not getting minutes, we'll dive into everything if that's the right play, if he's ever going to suit up with the Toronto Raptors again. But what's his potential future with this team, Riker? What do you want to sound off on first?
I think we ride out his big contract, much to the chagrin of people who watch our videos. Oh, $17 million bench player. Guess what? Sure. Because when you're developing Delano Banton, Malachi Flynn, Champagnie, bunch of guys off the deep bench, and they're giving you better minutes, why force it? Why force it? And the only justification for slipping Dragic into the starting lineup at the impediment of Gary Trent Jr.'s growth, whom we traded 44% three-point shooter Norman Powell for, was to improve this guy's trade value. Well, guess what? Even in the starting lineup, he sucked this season. So he's going to ride the pine. My prediction is we're going to pass the trade deadline without moving him, and we'll just let him walk in the offseason. And you know what, Ben? That's not necessarily an L.
Yeah, the biggest L would be the Toronto Raptors sacrificing wins right now in order to increase Goran Dragic's trade value. And I think Nick Nurse, because I think the Raptors are willing to see how good he is, and if he does bring that veteran presence, because you and I were pretty excited for Dragic to see, okay, he's been a top tier point guard, an upper echelon point guard in this league over the course of his career. He could shoot, he has that floater game, he can finish, he can score, and he did a lot of great things for the Heat, the Suns, wherever he was. But he's coming into this year clearly a step slower, right? He's forcing his shots a little bit, I feel like, not playing within the Toronto Raptors system, not really doing, the things that Fred VanVleet sort of gets slandered for consistently. He's doing those same sorts of things without half the effectiveness. So it's at the point now where Dragic just doesn't really fit the timeline, and he's a negative player out there on the court. So not only are you not increasing his trade value when he's playing, but as you mentioned, you're hampering a Gary Trent Jr., Delano Banton, all of these guys. So I guess before we dive into what the Raptors should do with him, because you think we should just hold him and then pay out the contract and see what happens, right?
You didn't ask me what we should do.
Okay.
You asked me what I think is going to happen.
My apologies. But do you think he ever suits up for the Raptors again, or on a given night? Do you think he's getting out there on the court before we end up inevitably moving him?
Yes, absolutely he is, because this is an injury-prone league. Knock on wood, we don't start losing all of our point guards too. But that's wood. Yeah, you never heard that before? Knock on wood? Come on.
Not skull.
Come on. Yeah, knock on wood. I'm not crazy here. You're crazy for not knowing that. Ben, knock on wood. But here's the thing. When you have Scotty Barnes and Siakam and Utah out, all of our bigs, I'm sure there's going to be a point in time where all of our guards are out and Dragic's services may be rendered useful. He still has value. And we know how slow the Raptors started those first 4 games. I'm not looking at Dragic like that's the reason we lost them. Yeah. Maybe I'm looking at those whack Nick Nurse lineups with Dragic and Svi out there twins together as the 2 and 3, the conjoined twins, exactly. Because that defensive lineup, that defensive rating was atrocious. But maybe if now the Raptors are seemingly getting their groove figured out, they're locking in on D, you put him out as the 1 on a lineup where the rest of the guys are true defenders, maybe he wouldn't be so bad. But I think he'll only probably lace up if there's injuries.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair. But yeah, it's not looking like he's going to crack the rotation, because now we've even seen Flynn overtake him in the minutes. So and that's the thing, as you said, it probably makes sense unless there's some injuries, unless there's stuff happening. That's what's going to happen. But Riker, you said you think what will probably happen, right, is the Toronto Raptors go forward and just eat up the contract and see what occurs. But obviously Dragic is a veteran. He wants he said he wants to win a championship this season. That's his big goal, his primary thing. Now maybe the Raptors are good. He'd be willing to just take a deep bench role and see how it all plays out. Obviously the Raptors, as high as both you and I are on this team, maybe aren't in the championship tier echelon right now in terms of perspective from teams, even though I'll look at the Raptors and rose gold tinted glasses every season and think we got a shot every year. But Ryker, I think as a veteran, as a guy that the Toronto Raptors like to do good by their players, and if Dragic isn't getting any minutes, especially at the twilight of his career, I could see us either buying him out or looking for a trade. And I think it's something that the Raptors should certainly look out for, because obviously his value is very low right now, but if a trade can happen, right, I think it's something the Raptors should try to facilitate, and if not, potentially a buyout. And there are teams that have expressed interest in Dragic coming into this year. First being the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I know we had the conversation earlier in the summer. There was the report that it was officially going down October 1st that Moses Brown and Dragic would be occurring, and maybe Dwight Powell will be involved in a trade and different guys. Do you see that trade specifically, before we dive into other potential teams, actually being a possibility for Dragic come closer to the trade deadline?
Ben, we brought Dallas to the table so many times in the offseason. Their stomach is full. They're not coming back for more. Every trade possibility would have been exhausted because we were trying to flip this man before the season started. That was the vision. I said, why bother? Dragic has some value, but obviously Nick Nurse, in this case, Masai Ujiri, whomever was involved in decision-making, they knew better than me. I'll concede that it would have made more sense to flip Dragic while his trade value was obviously higher. To what extent higher, I don't know, but to me, it's not Dallas.
Yeah, Dallas, I don't know, because trading Dragic first, this team, right, this Toronto Raptors team has done well, right? I know Kem Birch, we're still coming up officially determining the nickname. I really like the he Kem, he saw, he conquered, and obviously I've been spewing the Precious propaganda all year long, even though he's had a couple down games, which Nick Nurse has said, it's just a bit of a confidence thing. He'll bounce back and all that sort of stuff. So, Nick Nurse said he still has full faith in Precious, which I love to see, especially giving that faith to the young players. But having a true 7-footer that plays within this, just as insurance, just as something that's that can back up our guys, especially if injuries happen, because clearly if Kem or Precious goes down, we don't really have anyone else that can play that center spot. I know Boucher is someone that's struggled in that position at times, but can play it occasionally. Siakam, you're looking around. Do you think if Siakam comes back, what do you?
Scotty Barnes,
Center.
OG Anunoby, come on, they would all commit. We have big 6'9" guys who are able to rebound and block out.
But you wouldn't want that Moses Brown just in situations like on opening night, right? Precious is just getting bullied by Montrezl Harrell. Kem isn't able to do anything with it. You wouldn't want Nick Nurse to have a guy that they could utilize just to stand underneath the rim and see what happens?
No, he's too thin, man. It'd be the same thing as bringing Bol in. I'd prefer a guy like Dwight Powell who has at least a bit of substance on him, somebody who can actually just stand there in the lane, not get pushed over in the lane.
No, I don't know. Yeah, Moses Brown's a big dude. Have you seen that?
He's how old is he? 21? 120 pounds,
young,
soaking wet?
Big man.
No, he's not. Get out of here.
Get out of here. You get out of here.
Get out of here. You weigh more than him. You're 5'8" or 5'9".
That's but we're gym bros, Ryker. So that's
I definitely weigh more than him. I've been going to the gym recently though. I'm picking things up, putting things down.
Picking up what I'm putting down. But Moses Brown, he's a big dude. Get out of here with that. Go look at a picture, a video of Moses Brown. He'd be a cool pickup.
I'll search it up.
So you wouldn't even trade Dragic for Moses Brown, even though the salaries would be a bit weird.
Yeah, that'd be really weird. I would trade. I mean, you have a guy who's either going to sit on the bench and do nothing for you, trade for a guy who might come in the game. You would make a trade. I'm just saying, I prefer Dwight Powell if we're talking centers that are going to ride the pine anyways. They're just our tertiary center the same way that, I don't know, Jared Sullinger was, or Greg Monroe, even though he kind of got minutes.
Yeah. No, Nick Nurse will coach up Dwight Powell to be better on Team Canada, because that was embarrassing. Our big loss there when we got bullied by those Czech big men. But there are other teams that there was rumored interest and have players on the market right now. And the New Orleans Pelicans were another team that was sort of brought up. They were in the market for a guard this offseason. they've had a brutal start to the season, obviously with Zion Williamson injured. Satoransky hasn't really been that guy for them as a backup role. Obviously, they lost Lonzo Ball. Devontae Graham's been fine. He's on your fantasy league team. But is there anyone on the Pelicans? I know people were saying that, we had a couple comments saying Valanciunas for Dragic would be a great deal. Obviously, everyone would love that, but there's no way the Pelicans accept that one. Is there anyone on the Pelicans that you'd sort of be interested in a potential Dragic trade?
Do you have somebody pulled up? I couldn't even tell you half the players on the Pelicans right now.
Well, their main guys, obviously Ingram, Hart.
But you're trading a guy who we've benched, so you're not getting the top picks of the litter.
Well, that's where our other players come into consideration. Obviously, Boucher, he's having a down year. Jackson Hayes is a young center that does have that size, has that what did you say?
They're not trading Jackson Hayes.
Well, for Boucher and Dragic, I know Boucher's value is a little bit lower. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because he's a true 7-footer, mobile, could fit the timeline. That's
but I'm not trading Boucher for a third string center, Ben.
I don't know, because Boucher, the one thing about Boucher, if we're talking about trade packages with Goran Dragic, is Boucher's also a free agent this year, and we might have to pay him. If he continues to play at this level, maybe we don't. Obviously, I love Boucher, and I think it'd be silly to trade low on the guy, but assuming he bounces back a little bit, and, you can get a young asset, a young piece, right? Maybe that could be a guy that could fit into the Toronto Raptors rotation. I don't know if he'd necessarily be a third stringer. Especially if Boucher's gone. Precious could go to the power forward. We don't trust him as a starter, right? Kem Birch is there. It's another big man in the rotation. Would he be a guy you're interested in from the New Orleans Pelicans?
Yeah, I don't hate your take. It's not too hot. It's lukewarm.
Mm-hmm.
It's not maybe it's hotter than lukewarm. It's hot. It's not scorching. You know what I'm saying? I could dip my finger into that take.
Flames going around?
No. Well, let's move on to the next one. We'll let that one stew. Maybe come back to that trade.
Okay. And the third one, the third team I sort of had in mind is obviously the Sacramento Kings, who are desperately trying to make the playoffs this year. They have a plethora of big men up there, and Marvin Bagley is obviously the big name that Raptors fans want. Chris Boucher's having a down year for the Raptors, but obviously has that potential. They took off a guy that had a bunch of potential for our team last season in Terrence Davis. Maybe they be interested in taking another one in Boucher and Dragic to get that veteran presence there. Would you be interested in throwing those two guys to the Kings for a Bagley and maybe another piece?
I don't know. It'd be cool if we could get Buddy Hield. I know that would
be nice. Boucher and Dragic, if they... Because they're flooded with guards, right? The Kings are flooded.
Well,
with guards.
that's why just trading for Bagley doesn't make sense. They're not going to bring in another guard.
Well, Boucher I feel like would be the key to that package, and then you're also getting Dragic off.
I did notice people were saying flip Boucher for Davion Mitchell, but that's like their defensive guy. That was their high draft pick. They're not flipping him. And Buddy Hield's the guy they've been very active to put on the trading block. They've been trying to find a trade partner for him for the last 2 seasons at least, years even, and maybe Boucher'd be the guy to get it done. But how much else would we have to give? A couple picks?
Yeah, maybe a pick.
Is that even enough?
I wouldn't even give up that much for
would you make the trade though?
If it one first round pick Boucher and Dragic for Hield, I'd be cool with that. Not more than one pick, and it would be lottery protected or something like that.
Is Hield good or bad?
He's a shooter. He gets buckets. He's Kings fans, they either love him or they hate him. It's a diverse sort of thing. He'd be a cool guy to bring off the bench. Defensively, there's some question marks, and he's streaky when the 3-point shot's not going. He doesn't bring much else, but just in terms of an athletic shooter, right? He can do that for you, and he's a lot older than people think. So that's another thing you have to factor in.
It's an interesting one. I wouldn't mind doing a deal with the Sacramento Kings. I'll say that.
Yeah,
wouldn't mind doing a deal.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
But sorry. But at the same time, they felt like they were entitled to Ben Simmons for Buddy Hield. So I don't know if on the opposite end of the spectrum going around. Well, let's just we'll leave it at that. So
you don't want this fit to diverge into a young socialite watch?
Boucher and Dragic for Ben Simmons. Nah, he'll be back, suited up and playing.
Bring it home. But final take, do you think Dragic will be traded, bought out, or play out the season for this team?
I said at the beginning.
Bought out or played out? Played out. I could see a trade happening. I think Messiah will get something back for him, and if not, I'd say a buyout. I think they just won't keep him chilling on the end of the bench, just out of respect for their vets. But I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. We speculated on a few trades. We dove into some stuff. Let us know in the comment section what you guys think should happen. But first, join the channel membership if you guys want fire emojis, access to cool events. We're gonna get rocking here soon, right? And we got a couple people in the GOAT tier. We're gonna record our first GOAT tier video. Call in or videos that you guys request us to do, right, on any topic. We got a Raptors one coming up next, but that'll probably drop tomorrow. But that's coming. So check out the channel memberships, the merch. We got new merch, updated Raptors Digest logos. That should be added there now. Hopefully it appears under this video. Probably will appear in the next couple days. But there's that. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. The Twitter. Ryker, do you have any last words on Goran Dragic's future with the Toronto Raptors?
Got nothing, Ben. Cheers.